anyone finds this, it means that my plan didn't work and I'm already dead.
He's not in this room. Search the grounds.
If I can somehow go back to the beginning of all of this, I might be able to save her.
What you know about a secret that's so deep it's a scar. What you know on how to keep it when it's eating you raw. And you know if now you speak it then it's leaking for sure. Here's the story of a secret that I needed to pour. I was 9, she was 3 when the story kicks off. Mom was blind, couldn't see, dad was always pissed off, working gravedigger shifts, coming home with a vengeance. And moms would go to sleep and leave me all alone in his presence. And he would stare at me hard, then the questions would start. And if just one single word was said to him smart, he would start with my arm, work his way to my face. And when his fist became too tired, I would make my escape, crawling on my hands and knees to get out of his sight. Every time he had a bad day, I had a bad night. Shit. Sicilian temper flipped like Sonny Corleone. Any Sonny called his own. At 10 he had me running plenty for the phone, ECW? But I was too shook to speak. Plus even as a shorty I rebuked the police. So I dealt with the belt hits, broke bones and wealth. Shit, every night around 6 I went cold and felt sick. And after every beating I would shiver and shudder. Had a cast for every season, couldn't swim in the summer, couldn't bore in the spring, never skied in the winter. And my mother speak up, too nervous he would've hit her. And my sister, she was always falling downstairs. And the accidents would happen when we all went out there. Still I never thought twice, she was just turning 5. But the writing on the wall was there, I just turned my eyes. And if these walls could talk, they'd be screaming your name. Just the sound of your voice makes me relive the pain. And if these floors could speak, they'd be asking me why. I just stood back surprised while he blackened your eyes. If these walls could talk, they'd be asking me why. I was too scared inside to raise the hands from my side. If these floors could speak, they'd be screaming your name. All the sun turned to rain and it's me who's to blame. Now I'm 12 and she's 6, things have gradually changed, slipping from bad to worse, and my dad'll be blamed. The fake smile, nice try mom, just didn't work. Don't you know that he's a time bomb dressed in a shirt? Waking up petrified, skipping breakfast I learned I could get myself to school, missing blood on my shirt. One day I hit the kitchen thinking Phil had slept in, and saw him screaming at my sister like she killed his best friend. He cursed and swore, but I would never believe he would ever hurt his daughter. But inevitably, one afternoon after school he was in a mean mood, and the neighbors heard her scream and began to scream too. A block away I heard the screams and I started to trot, screaming out my sister's name with my heart in a knot. Turned the key in the lock, pushed the door open wide, and all the screaming just stopped. What I saw, no I lied, all the screaming kept on. I just couldn't hear dazed when I saw my father's fist meet the front of her face. Then he turned motionless, I was frozen stiff, never twitched when the blood poured out her nose and lips. He smiled and rolled, me just sitting there froze. Tried to speak but 12-year-olds make shitty heroes. And she didn't say a word, just looked at me and cried. And I swore that no matter what it took that he would die. From that day on, always tried to keep her face hid. Before he came home, I would hide her in the basement. But it was too late, I know that now. If I can turn back time, I would go back now. And if these walls could talk, they'd be screaming your name. Just the sound of your voice makes me relive the pain. And if these floors could speak, they'd be asking me why. I just stood back surprised while he blackened your eyes. If these walls could talk, they'd be asking me why. I was too scared inside to raise the hands from my side. If these floors could speak, they'd be screaming your name. All the sun turned to rain and it's me who's to blame. Now every morning I would wake up and go straight to see my sister, feel the pulse on her wrist, bite my lip and clench my fists up. Tell myself nearly every family's mixed up, a little dysfunctional, it's really no big fuck. I can't take it, sick of lying and fright, trying to fight. One of us is dying tonight. So I waited by the door for the sound of his car, but he never came home, probably out with his grandma. And she ain't the baddest kid, it's just something's amiss, cause my dad's mad as shit and she's something to hit. But my sister was 6, way too young to understand that her father was sick. That's why he punched her like a man. And verbal abuse, the words he would use to call a 6-year-old a cunt's just unmercifully cruel. 13 we started scrapping, but it took too long to happen. I was getting stronger back then, he would call the police. Finally all the grief must have became too great, and my moms threw him out, but like a decade too late. And he swore he never touched you, ma, even if true. Every time he hit one of us, he would hit you. I know. Every day I regret all those shed tears, and if looks could kill, he'd be dead almost 10 years. And he'd probably look at death and smile too. The world gave advice, but never took a step in my shoes. Not one. But if they can't relate, then I'm glad, cause this is when it was good, imagine when it was bad. It's true. For her I'm begging this, please remember this. When it rains it pours. cause when it bleeds it hemorrhages. And if these walls could talk, they'd be screaming your name. Just the sound of your voice makes me relive the pain. And if these floors could speak, they'd be asking me why. I just stood back surprised while he blackened your eyes. If these walls could talk, they'd be asking me why. I was too scared inside to raise the hands from my side. If these floors could speak, they'd be screaming your name. All the sun turned to rain and it's me who's to blame.
He used to just put a wrench, a stick, and a belt on the table, just say choose.
Well, I gotta go with the belt there, man.
And I used to go with the wrench.
Why the wrench?
Just fuck him, that's why.